Excited to be here. Woo, this room is packed. I hope that y'all's knees back there are not gonna, don't faint on me, start bending them a little bit. Like he said, again, my name is Eryn, and I truly believe that this room is filled with people that are making Atlanta awesome. I think that's why Atlanta continues to grow and be this city on the rise, because of the people here. I live here in East Atlanta Village with my husband, Jared. That is him. He's also right there. Say hello. He's an introvert. Sorry, babe. You're so red. This is a photo of when we traveled the Southeast to promote a clothing brand that we own called So Worth Loving. And we live in East Atlanta Village, and we have a child, just one little girl. Her name is Sprocket. She's 2 years old. Look at those human eyes, right? I mean, it's really easy to treat her like a human. But I guess this is why I'm here. So yeah, I started a clothing brand called So Worth Loving. But before I started it, I actually did not set out to start a clothing company at all. I worked for a nonprofit, but prior to that, so let's rewind. I graduated high school. I didn't go to college. My parents loved that. And so then I was trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And the one thing I knew that I wanted to do was to learn from sound leadership and learn how to work with a team. So I pursued to work with this nonprofit because I knew that I could learn so much from them. And I begged them. I said, I'll do all the grunt work. I'll take the trash, whatever you want me to do. And they said, okay, hired. And so I didn't take out the trash to do any of that. But I did do a lot of the things that maybe are counterproductive or feel like it if you're creative. You know, like entering in spreadsheets with data cards and things of that nature, and things that looking back, I don't know why they trusted me with, because I'm not necessarily the most structured person, but for some reason they thought I'd be a good candidate for it. And I worked my way up where I was able to do that and then work at conferences and events. And then 8 months before I left working with them, I was one of the art directors overseeing campaigns and working with graphic designers. And I had never envisioned myself being there because I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, I graduated high school, I was the editor of Yearbook, and that's about all I had in my back pocket. But in the midst of that, 8 months before I quit, I was at a crossroads, and I had somebody tell me, don't leave if you're uncertain of where you want to go. And that was huge for me because I was antsy. You know, I was a musician on the side. I was an art director by day, a musician by night, starving artist, I guess you could say, because iTunes does not pay your bills. And my music was being licensed to television shows, and I was working with videographers, so I knew maybe I wanted to go down that avenue. Maybe I wanted to pursue music, but I wasn't sure. And the reason they told me to not go so fast, not to leave so fast, is because there's something that I still need to learn. And I'm so thankful that I listened to that advice. So if there's anybody in this room where you're at a crossroads and you're not sure what you want to do, maybe stay a little bit longer, because there's talented people around you that you can learn from, apart from maybe the person that drives you crazy. Just stay just a little bit longer there. So I stayed, and then in the midst, I was, like I said, pursuing music. And I had a music video go viral. Don't look it up at all. There it is. Don't look it up. And I thought to myself, it was all happening. It was crazy because people were watching it, and I was like, what? And I was in my living room floor after work, and I thought, I want to create fan merch. You know, I want to create a product that the people that support my music could wear, that they could identify with. You know, I didn't want to put my that face on a t-shirt. I wanted to put something that they could really live out and that they could believe in. And so Worth Loving came to my mind. It was like a whisper, I don't know what it was. It came to my mind and I did what anybody would do, right? You go and you check to make sure all domains are available. Yeah, y'all done that. You probably own like 10 domains. We do. Such a great idea. Just squat on it. That's wrong. Don't squat. So I did what anybody did. I looked up all the domains, and then I also went into my craft drawer and I grabbed cardboard stencils that I bought at Hobby Lobby back in the day. I don't know really where they came from. And I had fabric spray paint, and I grabbed some old shirts, and I started spray painting my own t-shirts that said "So Worth Loving" on them. And so I did that, and then I did my friends' shirts, and then I did my other friends' shirts, and then their friends' shirts, and then their friends' shirts, and that's what it looked like. Wasn't the prettiest, but it was beautiful. The meaning was beautiful. I mean, that right there, the S is really blurry, and the W is like a mess. But people wanted to carry this phrase, and that's what was so cool, that it actually had nothing to do with what it looked like, but more of what they wanted to wear and what they wanted to carry. So I, again, did what anybody would do, right? You put your address up on a blog and you say, mail me your t-shirt and I'll spray paint it and I'll mail it back, which is not wise. But because my address went to someplace else, I felt like it was a safe option to do that. And it was incredible, the stories that I received. People trusted me with their raw stories of why they felt unworthy of love. I was honestly overwhelmed by the response. I did stranger shirts. I didn't just do my friends' shirts. Like your friends support you, but when you have strangers that are like, I want to wear this phrase, I want to send you a shirt. So it'd be like you sending me that sweater, and I'd do my job on spray painting it on my living room floor, and I'd pack it up and I'd mail it back. People trusted me, and in my inbox I realized there's a common denominator in all of the stories that were being told to me, and it was that people felt alone. They all felt alone in their struggles of feeling unworthy, whether it was a spouse that said something to them, or a verbally abusive relationship, or a physically abusive relationship, or growing up and your mom always looking in the mirror, picking out her own body, and you identify with that you're supposed to pick out your own body because she did that. There were so many things. People felt alone, and I realized it was common to feel unworthy of love, but uncommon to talk about it. Nobody wanted to talk about it, because you felt like a mess. You felt like, she's a mess. She's talking about her feelings, right? And so through So Worth Loving, I always wanted it to be something where you live your life through the lens of knowing that you have value and that you have worth, because I truly believe that your decisions are different. And that's what I started realizing, that people started to change the way they were living because of this phrase, So Worth Loving, that it wasn't just a phrase, it was a lifestyle. And so now we are a clothing company, and it's only 3 years old, it's a baby, but it's just been incredible because people want to carry this message. They want to use it as an entryway to talk about the struggles of self-worth and self-love. And so when Blake asked that I talk on ugly, I was like, whoa, listen, it's an intense topic. Where do I begin? So I went to Google, and I Googled ugly high-res image. It was really scary. Don't do that, or maybe do that. Any guesses on what I found? Poor thing, right? I honestly believe that it probably really does like to snuggle. It's so sad, but so cute. That was the only high-res image of, that was 1200. That said ugly. So I started thinking through just our journey and the theme ugly, and I realized that within our community, of people like y'all, they started to believe a lie, an ugly lie, and they started living their life out of that ugly lie. That was one of the common denominators of all the stories that we receive. We see a lot of ugly in our inbox, and I don't mean that in degrading a story. I just mean they believe a lie. It's not true about themselves. And so it got me thinking, we believe ugly lies and we allow them to dictate our life. Whether it's in our personal life, whether it's in our work life, whether it's working on a project and we don't think that we're good enough, or whether it's entering into a relationship and we put our walls up because we don't want them to see the things that we're trying to hide. I feel like we live our life sometimes based off of an ugly lie that is just swallowing us. And we allow that pain and that hurt to paralyze us to where we can't move forward. Can't move forward in our relationships. We only get to a certain depth. And so we have these voices that say you aren't good enough, or you'll never be like her, you'll never be like him, you won't ever be as good as blank. And it's just, we kind of start to normalize those thoughts. I know I've had the history of that, but I truly believe that we are in control of what we think, and we are in control of how we respond. And I say that because I used to think that I wasn't in control of some of my thoughts, because I struggled immensely with anxiety, and I struggled immensely with panic attacks, you know, the tightness in your chest and the racing thoughts, and you get the tremors and you're nervous and you don't know why you're thinking these things. I don't know if anybody's ever struggled with anxiety, but I'm sure maybe that can relate to somebody in this room. And I started going, it was a couple years ago, and I started going to therapy, and I'm a huge advocate for that, just talking out my thoughts. I'm a verbal processor. And I was talking it out, and my therapist said, you know, the person that began the thoughts is the person that can end those thoughts. And that was huge for me, because I thought, it was a moment where I really realized that I have the opportunity to have freedom again from the anxiety that I'm going through. And she also said, you have to want to change harder than someone else wants you to change. Because I can have my friends and the people in my life want the best intentions for me, but I have to want to change, because they can't change me. And so I want to ask you, what ugly lie have you been listening to? And I know on a Friday morning, before the weekend, that's like the last thing you want to think about. But I want to challenge you, because this ugly lie that you've maybe been carrying with you, there is freedom that you can find apart from it. And once you fight the ugly lies with truth, you'll see the beauty again. And I truly mean that. I got to live a life now where I after working through all the mess and all the anxiety that I had and why I had it, and some of it was due to a verbally abusive relationship that I had growing up. And once I was able to really wrestle with that, I was able to have a better life with my friends and go deeper and be more responsive to, you know, constructive criticism, which is really hard to do. But you start to see parts that you can celebrate instead of destroy. Because I think as creatives, we want to maybe attack what we create. It's never good enough, especially if you're a graphic designer, because I know that because my husband's a graphic designer. And it's just, the process is hard. You know, you stare at something so long that you start to see all its flaws. And then what you built that is beautiful, you're like, oh, this is crap. I'm going to restart. And then the process happens over and over and over again. But once you can get a clear mind and get rid of whatever that lie is that you're carrying around, you can start to celebrate those parts. So I want you to do 3 things. They're action-oriented. 3 things. I want you to write down your values. I want you to write down your truths. The true things that you know about yourself that are positive. I want you to write those down. And then I want you to write down your safe people. And by safe people, I mean If you were having a board meeting and the board meeting was about you, you're sitting there and you're going to talk about yourself, who would be on your board? Who would be the people that you can trust, that are of good character, that you trust that they would pour into you, and they are for you, but they will give you tough love if you need it. Someone laughed because they agreed. I have those people. And I want you to fight. Because the thing is, if you write down your values and your truths, and you write down your safe people, going forward, a lie can't just make its way home and manifest. Because I believe that a lie can't live in transparency, but it can manifest in secret. So if you have safe people that you can talk about your thoughts that aren't going to think you're a crazy person because you're struggling with this, or, oh, this is irrational. This is an irrational thought, so I'll just keep it quiet. I won't talk about it. It can grow and it can manifest, and that's when it pours into our relationships. But if you live in a life of transparency, it's so much better. But in the process of this, I want to say that nothing good is easily achieved. And if you are somebody that works in customer service, operations, if you do graphic design, if you are an artist, you know that you work hard to create something good, right? It takes a lot of hard work. It's not easy. While people think that like websites just randomly come together, they think, oh, you can just do this real quick. Real quick is not real quick, right? It's not real quick. But nothing good is easily achieved. And I love that quote because I believe that so much in everything that we do, we have to work hard for it. So as much as we pour into our work, I want to encourage you to pour into yourself because we take time to serve others well in our professions, but maybe we don't take enough time to pour into ourselves because in order for us to be able to pour into others, we have to be fueled. And so I just want to say the last thing, and that there is so much beauty to be found in the pain and so much victory to be found in the fight. And I witnessed that over and over and over and over again with So Worth Loving. I had a girl that one of the reasons why we started was because of her story. She was sexually abused at 7. She was raped at 12. She had an abortion at the age of 12. She was one of 3 triplets, and she was abandoned at the age of 16, dealt with an eating disorder, dealt with drug addiction. She wrote her story to us, and I remember looking at Jared and going, I was bawling my face off, and I remember going, Jared, like, this is why we exist. It's because people like her that have so much pain, but I know that there can be beauty in this pain, and we followed her journey all the way, and we got to meet her, we got to hang out with her and get dinner with her, and her then boyfriend, now husband. And it was so amazing to see how she worked through so much of the lies that were casted upon her, whether it was herself that told those lies or someone else. She worked through them, and we got to see this beautiful picture now of her life. And it's a fight every day, but she's so much more happy than she was then. And so that's what I want to close with, is that there's so much beauty to be found in the pain and so much victory to be found in the fight. It's painful and it's hard, but remember, nothing good is easily achieved. And you will find the victory at the end of the fight. So, that's all I have.
Thanks, Eryn. So we're gonna do a Q&A. So if you have a question, Eryn will call on you, and I'll try to run the microphone over to you so the video will record your question and ask the question to the mic, and then she'll answer. Not everybody at once.
I hope I didn't make anyone sad.
How would you say that the ugly side of all that has affected your work, especially with So Worth Loving and what you've done previously?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I will say that in the midst of receiving a lot of stories and just realizing there are so many real people in this world and we don't talk about some of the struggles, I will say, like, I did seek therapy to figure out how to handle some of to be trustworthy of those stories. And I think the whole process, it taught me a lot about integrity and honor, because people were trusting me so much, and that kind of just pours now into my work. Does that answer it, kind of? Yeah.
What was the greatest resource you relied on to help grow your business?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, so I remember when we first started, I wanted to be in a place, like, we started off as a blog, so I started on Tumblr. I wanted to be on Tumblr, and I wanted to be at night on Tumblr, because at night, Tumblr can be a very dark community. A lot of self-harm, a lot of documenting of eating disorders and things of that nature, and so I wanted to be in that space. But through social media, that's how we've grown so much. It's always evolving. Instagram is the main resource as to why we've grown and why we have been able to impact so many people.
Can you tell us your thought process behind your logo?
Yeah. Let's go back. Jared designed it, my husband. So the diamond, there he is again, turning red. Sorry, babe. So the diamond stands for worth, and the heart stands for love. So the thought behind it was worth love. And it's been cool because we've seen so many people get this tattooed on their body, and that was the point. It wasn't just to create a logo, but it was something that they could identify as their own. Yeah. And then that one.
Hi, thanks so much for a great talk. I was just curious because, you know, all of us here, so many of us are creative people, and I think as creatives we are often in this, you know, this process and desire of creating things that are visually beautiful. And so, you know, you're talking about ugliness, but you're a person who uses, in a way, visual, creative beauty, products that are beautiful to sort of combat that. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about how you see the relationship between beautiful objects, beautiful things, and this sort of this bigger project of sort of combating or overcoming ugliness through that.
So do you mean like in regards to the process of combating like self-doubt kind of thing, or
just anything that you see kind of the relationship? I mean, because it's, you know, these are visual things, just the actual visual sort of product.
Yeah, well, I think it's important for us. There's so much heaviness when you struggle with self-worth and self-acceptance that I always wanted So Worth Loving to be a place of light and hope, and I wanted it to be visual to where people could find that sense of hope. So whether it was through, you know, certain quotes that really touched somebody, or if it was a beautiful piece of work. I know Michaela, she's on our team, and she does a lot of art photography, and she does such a good job of creating light and contrast. I think it was just identifying the direction of what our brand wanted to be, and then just continuing to explore that and nurture it. Does that kind of answer your question? Yeah? Yeah.
Let's do one more.
Right there.
Hey, and thank you so much for coming. This was a great talk. I was wondering if you could speak a little more to the social impact of So Worth Loving, because when you go on your Facebook or other social media, it almost feels more like a movement than it does just a standalone brand.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, too, kind of as the second part, have you formed any kind of social or business partnerships and alliances since you've started?
Yeah, great question. I think because it started off as a community, we've always wanted to keep it a community. And when I say community, I mean like everybody, you know, like it wasn't like this one niche of people. It was anybody that has feelings and a heart and can breathe. And so I think we've always wanted to keep it universal like that, and people share their stories, and that's the point. You know, they give us permission to be like, use my story and use it as a way to show that there is a light at the end of a dark tunnel. So that, I think, that has helped us to continue to grow as a community versus a brand. At the same time, I wanted to create a product that you want to wear in your everyday life versus, not that there's anything wrong with a cause t-shirt, but if you all know, you probably wear them when you work out, and I wanted it to be something that you wore more than just that. I wanted people to ask in an elevator when you're dressed up and you're wearing a pair of skinny jeans, or if you're wearing dudes, your boots. I don't know, or your shoes. That you would ask, you know, what is that logo? Or So Worth Loving, what is that? And it's cool because we've had people Google So Worth Loving and find us because they've seen someone walk on the street with it. So there's that movement. And then we've also, we like to partner with different companies every now and then. We do collaborations if it's, you know, if it models the same values that we have. And we just recently did a partnership with Not For Sale, which, if you're familiar, I don't know if you are, but they fight human trafficking and sex trafficking. So we did a shirt that said, "We are not for sale, we are so worth loving." And that was a really cool opportunity just to kind of piggyback what they're doing and be like, everybody, like, support them. We love what they're doing, especially out in San Francisco. So, yeah.
Let's give Eryn a round of applause.